Sen. Tim Scott of South Carolina opened his presidential candidacy with a story of the nation's bitter racist past. It is one that he tells often, of a grandfather forced from school in the 3rd grade to pick cotton in the Jim Crow South. A rival for the Republican nomination, Nikki Haley, speaks of the loneliness and isolation of growing up in small-town South Carolina as the child of immigrants and part of the only Indian family around. Larry Elder, a conservative commentator and long-shot presidential candidate, talks to all-white audiences about his father, a Pullman porter in the segregated South, who carried tinned fish and crackers in his pockets, because he never knew whether he'd be able to get a meal. Such biographical details are useful reminders of how far the GOP's candidates of color have come to reach the pinnacle of national politics, a run for the presidency. But in bolstering their own bootstrap biographies with stories of discrimination, they have put forth views about race that at times appear at odds with their view of the country, often denying the existence of a system of racism in America while describing situations that sound just like it. "I'm living proof that America is the land of opportunity and not a land of oppression," Scott says in a new campaign advertisement running in Iowa. Although he has spoken of his grandfather's forced illiteracy and his own experiences being pulled over by police 7 times in 1 year, for driving a new car. The clashing views of the role that race plays in America are a major theme of the 2024 election, underpinning cultural battles over wokeness. Yet behind the debate over structural racism, a codified program of segregation and subjugation that suppressed minority achievement long ago and, many scholars say, has left people of color still struggling, is a secondary debate over the meaning of the stories politicians tell about themselves. That has sometimes made the discussion of race in this presidential primary awkward but also revealing, and has underscored a central difference between the two parties. Republican candidates of color don't see their pasts in their present, even if the two front-runners in the race for the Republican nomination, Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, are elevating racial grievance to the center of conservative politics, through overt or covert appeals to white anger. "I know Nikki and Tim, both are brilliant, but for them not to be able to make the logical jump is troubling. Systemic racism is the issue," said Bakari Sellers, a Democratic political commentator who served with Scott and Haley in the South Carolina legislature. For them to recount their own experiences but close their eyes to the bigger picture, it's troubling. Elder, at an April gathering of evangelical Christians in West Des Moines, Iowa, spoke of his father, the Pullman porter who later became a cook in a segregated Marine Corps unit. When he returned from World War II, his father found he could not get a job in the whites-only restaurants of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and struggled to find work in Los Angeles because he had no references from Tennessee. Elder's father even asked to cook in Los Angeles restaurants for free, just to get references, and again was refused. He ended up with 2 jobs scrubbing toilets. There was something called slavery, the KKK, Jim Crow, that was codified, Elder said in an interview. Of course there was systemic racism. For more, subscribe to 24 Hour Radio News.